Welcome to Columbia, Maryland, here at Howard Community College, the site of the $25,000 American Cafe Columbia Classic. It's a member of the National Grand Prix League series of show jumping brought to you by Rolex. I'm Oliver Kennedy, and along with a member of Team Crown Royal, Mr. Mark Leone, will be joining us for the commentary as well as riding in our class. Mark, let's give some insights on today's class.
Well, we have a very strong field today of 31 horses and riders. We have some very experienced riders from Michael Matz to Tim Grubb, Olympic veterans, and we also have some young riders today. I think we're going to see some good action. The weather's great, and I think we're in for a very good class today.
A very exciting class in store. We'll be back with a look at our course here in just a moment.
The American Cafe Columbia Classic Grand Prix is brought to you by the American Cafe Restaurants, with 17 locations throughout the Baltimore, Washington, Virginia area, and by Rolex Watch USA and their local dealer, Edward Arthur Jewelers. Metropolitan Contracting Corporation. Merrill Lynch, we're bullish on Columbia. First American Bank. Oak Contracting Corporation, there's something to be said for experience. And by Coca-Cola and your local Coca-Cola bottler. We'll return to the $25,000 American Cafe Columbia Classic Grand Prix.
Presents the Washington International Horse Show, Friday, October 25th, live at 7:30.
The first round course today starts with the vertical 4'6", slightly downhill grade. The riders will make a left turn and go over an oxer, up the hill to a very tall vertical, up the hill again to a Liverpool oxer with water underneath. They'll make a right-hand turn over a tall vertical, and then we'll continue slightly downhill grade over a very square oxer, one stride to a triple bar. That will be a power test for the horses. The riders will make a left-hand turn away from the in-gate, and we'll go over another vertical, continuing all the way around to the right over the Rolex wall. That, again, is a jump that the horses will not be able to touch. It's a very light jump there. They'll make a right-hand turn over the Swedish oxer, which again is very wide and will be another power jumping effort. The riders will then pull the horses back to the triple combination, vertical, one stride oxer, one stride vertical. Again, very difficult distance in there to the B element, and the horses should have to work quite hard through that triple today. They make a left-hand turn toward the in-gate over the Crown Royal oxer, which again is very wide. Horses will be a little tired at that point. And then a very forward 4 strides to the last American Cafe jump. Again, another very big, tall oxer. And we had an opportunity to speak with the course designer, Blair Williams, about the trouble spots.
The first straight line of fences, 2, 3, and 4 are going to cause us a fair amount of trouble because they're going uphill. And the last one, number 4, has a Liverpool under it, so I expect some trouble with those fences.
You have quite a few riders here today and a lot of experienced riders. How many clear rounds would you expect today?
I was expecting around 10 clean rounds.
10 clear. And, you know, coming into a new facility like this, how do you assess the terrain? I notice there's some hills here. Is that going to be a problem?
No, I just use my instincts on that. I come from a hilly country, and I'm relatively used to building on this sort of terrain. The question is whether the competitors are used to it.
Thanks a lot, Blair. Back up to Oliver.
The scoring for our Grand Prix competition is very easy. Our riders will receive 4 faults for each knockdown incurred on course. If they have a refusal, the first refusal would incur the penalty of 3 faults. A second refusal would add 6 additional faults, and the third refusal would incur the penalty of elimination. Fall of horse or rider also would incur the penalty of elimination, and if our riders exceed the 99-second time allowed in our first round competition, we'll be adding a quarter time fault for each second or fraction of a second they are over the time allowed. Underway now with our first round competition. This is the first of 31. Again, we're bringing you taped highlights, and Ian Silich of Berryville, Virginia, a 28-year-old rider aboard Windwalker. Windwalker is an English thoroughbred, Ian a professional rider, and this horse and rider combination been together for quite some number of years now.
This is a very familiar combination for Ian. Windwalker, he's been riding the last 4 or 5 years on the Grand Prix circuit, and it is the largest horse in the class, standing at 18 hands. It is a very, very big mover, and let's see how he negotiates this course today.
As you said in your course walk, the first line coming uphill might pose some problem for some of the horses in our class, but Windwalker, a very large and scopy jumping horse, showing no problem here as he comes to fence number 4, the Liverpool, and a water obstacle.
The field today is on a little bit of a hill. There is some grades going up the hill, which will make that first line difficult. And now as Ian approaches this yellow combination, this is a downhill approach. Again, just a little bit different footing coming to the obstacle and having to make a little more balanced approach. He's clear through there and looks quite good today.
A good over fence number 7 as he heads around now to fence 8, the Rolex jump. First time they'll be coming by the crowd in the patrons tent.
That's a very tough jump there. It doesn't take much of a rub there, and Ian just touches it very lightly and gets away with it.
Over the Coca-Cola Swedish Oxer, and now on to the triple combination. What do you think happened there? He just kind of looked like he took his eye off the jump for a second. And
looks like Ian was trying to be a little soft and conservative there and needed to just keep a little more support with his leg on the horse there. I think he was going to trust the horse through that.
And he has the rail coming out of the combination, so we're scoring 3 faults for the refusal at the in and 4 for the rail, and a plank coming down the Crown Royal fence for a total of 11 faults, and the clock coming up, finishing just over the 99-second time allowed with a total of 11 3/4. We add on a quarter time fault for each second or fraction of a second over the 99-second time allowed. Craig Shagog up next of Delaplane, Virginia, 22-year-old senior at the University of Richmond studying biology, an amateur rider aboard the Dutch-bred Hollandaise.
This is a very familiar pair for the Grand Prix circuit, Craig and Hollandaise. He's been riding this horse the last 4 years on the tour. Let's see how he's up to the task today.
Oh, and just a fall here at the Merrill Lynch jump. Craig and Hollandaise appear to be all right. Let's take a look at the replay.
Now here we see Craig coming to number 2. The approach seems good there. And the takeoff spot, I honestly don't think Craig did anything wrong there. The takeoff spot looked good, and it's incredible how the horse got out of there without getting hurt.
Now, taking a look at the head-on shot, you'll see how the rails just pop on out of there, and Hollandaise and Craig Shagog appear to be okay. The horse making its way out. To see these fences are made to just come right down, pop out. So there'll be no score for Craig Shagog and Hollandaise. The unfortunate fall is cause for elimination. And next up is Diane Shaw, a 38-year-old rider from Culpeper, Virginia, a professional aboard the Dutch-bred Logo. Diane and Logo.
An unfortunate rail at fence number 1. You can see Logo just rolled that rail with the hind legs. Not a good way to start the course today.
As we said, Diane and Logo had been a successful pair on the Grand Prix Tour. He was sold, and Diane reteamed just a few weeks ago with Logo.
Yeah, this is a horse that Diane has shown internationally for the U.S., abroad, and is a very, very accomplished animal, and to say, just a little unlucky at fence number 1. Let's see if they can keep it together now and finish this demanding course with just 4 faults. Certainly will be in the money today.
Diane approaching fence number 7, having no problem there with just the 4 faults from the first fence so far, as she makes her way around now to the Rolex, fence number 8 on our course.
When a rider has the first jump down, it's quite disheartening, and it's often quite difficult to regroup and negotiate the rest of the course cleanly. But Diane, being a veteran and a seasoned, accomplished rider, is very professional, and she seems to be getting back to work here, and the horse is jumping well.
Having no problem at all through the triple combination again, still carrying just the 4 faults from the first fence. A fine effort so far for this horse and rider combination, competing in their first Grand Prix since being reteamed. Oh, Diane Shawn logo with just the first fence down, finish up with a score of 4 faults. Laura Casati up next of Charlottesville, Virginia, aboard the Hanoverian stallion Glanspunct, a young stallion competing its 3rd Grand Prix today, and Mark had a chance to ask her about problems she might incur.
The crowd, the tents, the colors, the flags, you name it. There's so much activity outside of the show ring itself that I think that my biggest problem will be keeping him focused on the jumps.
And Laura, they're going to the whip early, getting the attention of Glanspunct. Very heavy horse. See, Laura's kind of laboring around the course, going to the whip there over the Merrill Lynch fence.
Yeah, this is a large stallion that Laura seems to be having a little bit of trouble early on just keeping his attention. She's gone to the stick now twice, but apparently seeming to be responding there. Big animal, though, and she really has to keep his attention focused. There's so many distractions, and they've got such a big crowd here today. I think that's probably one of her biggest concerns.
Laura heads down now to the double combination, fences 6A and B. She is fault-free thus far. Seems she's taking a little bit of time keeping his attention. Going around the course, going just a little bit slow. She might have a problem with some time faults.
Well, being a green horse, you know, it's important for the rider to do what's best for this horse, and clearly, you know, she has to keep this horse's attention, and she seems to be doing it, but going a little bit wide. We'll see how her time looks a little later on. Seems to have a very nice jump, jumping quite easily today.
Yeah, for a 9-year-old stallion, this one has been coming along. Again, it's in its 3rd Grand Prix today in its career. Laura's seasoned veteran throughout the European Tour, showing throughout the 70s and moved back to the States in the 80s, down in the Charlottesville area where she operates her farm Chivoli. Laura looks to be laboring a little bit again. She's taking quite a bit of time, and the clock coming up there, she is already over the 99-second time allowed, finishing up with no faults across the course. Her best performance so far, but however, she will have 2.5 time penalties. At present, that is our current class leader, Laura Casati in Glanspunct. 27-year-old Harold Chopping up next from Newmarket, Ontario, Canada, and Rougemont, North Carolina. He joined us aboard Aerobic, a Hanoverian stallion. We're still looking for our first clean effort, and Harold should have a good shot at that. He was the Canadian World Cup League champion last year. First rider in 7 years to beat perennial Canadian champion Ian Miller.
Harold's had a lot of success with this stallion. The horse, you know, when he's on, he really is tremendous. And Harold's had him the last number of years, so they know each other very well and seem to be off to a good start so far.
And this was the horse that originally, one of the horses that originally got Harold onto the Canadian team. Again, he hails originally from Newmarket, Ontario, Canada, and together with his wife Carol, they operate the Solo Corporation, a farm down in Rougemont, North Carolina, just outside of Durham. And through 6A and B, he's had no problems so far, as he heads now to fence number 7.
You can see Harold's keeping his pace up after the Laura Casati had the time fault. Harold's being a little neater and tidier with his turns, and so he doesn't get the time fault, and jumping very well so far.
Yeah, as we said, this is a seasoned horse. Rodney Jenkins has ridden this horse. Michelle Murphy showed the horse in international competition as well. Horse has a very scopy effort. You see, jumps very clean. Again, he is a stallion and has his off days. but he's clean so far as he heads home.
Harold's just got to pull him together here, not rush himself. He's good on the time.
Clear over the Crown Royal fence to the American Cafe. And there you have it, our first clean ride. Harold chopping and aerobic. Fault-free all the way now, and they now move to the lead of the class. Michael Matz up next of Collegeville, Pennsylvania. The 40-year-old rider aboard Victor, a very seasoned professional veteran, is number 1 on the all-time Money One list in the United States, number 2 on career victories with 42 career victories aboard Victor.
Michael is known throughout the show jumping community as a very stylish rider. He is in total harmony with the horse. You can see he's a very, very well positioned on the horse. This is a young horse that one of his clients has that shows in the amateur jumper divisions, and I think this is one of his first Grand Prix. You couldn't have a better rider than Michael riding this horse today to give it the guile around the course.
As we said, Michael, a very seasoned competitor, but an interesting side note, he didn't start riding until he was 15 years of age and never even stepped into the show ring until he was 18, and he's number 2 on the all-time win list and number 1 on Money One.
Well, Michael's one of the hardest workers out on the show jumping circuit. He is a tremendous achiever and really works hard, and he's worked for everything he's won. And he now has a wonderful group of horses, and we can see he's doing a good job with this young Grand Prix horse here today.
And we're coming now to fence number 9, the Coca-Cola Swedish Oxer, as he makes his way to the triple combination on our final portion of our first round course.
Very well ridden through the triple combination. Horse stayed very straight, gave it a lot of air. He's working on a clear coming to the last 2 jumps.
Looks like his time will be fine. He's good over the Crown Royal fence. And assuring us of a jump off, Michael Matz and Victor. Again, those tied for first place will be coming back for our time jump off. Assured now with our second clean performance. Michael Matz and Victor are fault-free. Lori Jacobowskis of Kennett Square, Pennsylvania, up next, a 26-year-old rider aboard Locked and Loaded.
This is a new pair to the Grand Prix ranks, and you know, showing with the likes of Michael Matz and Harold Chopping and Tim Grubb, this young girl's got quite a task at hand. Let's see how she does. Approaching number 2.
This horse has been paired with Lori since the amateur jumper division. She's shown him successfully in the preliminary and worked his way up through the intermediate, making its first Grand Prix start today here in the $25,000 American Cafe Columbia Classic.
Really can get a good sense of the horse and rider.
Whoa, just a bit of trouble there, and 6B comes down for a score of 4 faults.
The horse got a little deceived with the back rail of that yellow oxer. Didn't really look as though he saw it. Kind of swam through that oxer. Now he must regroup and pull it together for the rest of the round as she approaches the Rolex vertical here.
Seemed to have just a little bit of problem in the hilly terrain coming through the combination there. And Lori's working with 4 faults as she comes back to fence number 9.
Horse jumping well, though. Didn't seem to rattle him too much as she negotiates this triple combination here. Over the vertical.
Whoa, gets just a little bit lost, and tone sounds a timeout to 4 faults for the knockdown, and we'll add 10 seconds to Lori's time. Take a look on the replay.
We can see this horse was a little tentative over the middle jump, really reached over that oxer there and just didn't quite have the impulsion to get out over the C element. Now she's really going to have to override the horse this time. Okay, and she made it through there, still had a little trouble with B.
So she's working now on 15 faults along with time penalties. And she heads down now to the Crown Royal fence. And Lori pulling out. Looks like she's going to choose to save it for another day in her first Grand Prix start with Locked and Loaded. No score. They voluntarily withdraw from competition. Amy Ilvasacker-Reistrup joining us now from Lexington, Virginia. Recently turned professional. The 28-year-old rider is the trainer at the Southern Seminary College in Lexington, Virginia. A young combination is making their first Grand Prix start today. We've seen our seasoned veterans, and now taking a look at some of our younger riders.
We see fence 2 causing the trouble again. I don't know whether it's the sign on the front of that, but the horses seem a little bit spooked and distracted by that one. Here she approaches the oxer again and negotiates it, but the horse looks very tentative and quite scared. Very distracted. Here she approaches the Liverpool.
Oh, takes a little dip in the pool there again, the water obstacle. And with the fall, there'll be no score for Amy Ilvasacker-Reistrup and Nebraska. And limping it off there, and Nebraska takes a tour around the ring here in Columbia, Maryland.
As she approaches the Liverpool, you can see the horse is spooked at the last minute by the water in that blue tarp. Certainly wanted nothing to do with that jump today.
From Bromont, Quebec, Canada, Mario Delorier, 27-year-old rider, a professional aboard Roche. And we had a chance earlier today to talk with Mario and get some of his thoughts on Blair Williams' course.
I think Blair set up a real good course. I think it's going to be challenging. A lot of people brought young horses. It's going to be hard. I think even with older horses, there's a lot of difficult places. And I think the triple over there seemed like it's going to be difficult. And there's Liverpool down the first line that's going to be hard enough to jump clean, I think.
This is a young Grand Prix prospect from Mario that he imported in May earlier this year. And Mario's a veteran. He's got so much talent and ability. Oh, the horse really jumped that well. Very powerful jumper here. And earlier won a Grand Prix in Illinois, a $40,000 event. So he knows what it takes to win.
Last week was quite successful, tying for the Intermediate Jumper Championship at the American Gold Cup. And Mario, again, is a very seasoned veteran, a two-time Olympic veteran, and at 19 was the winner of the World Cup finals, and was a member of the 1990 World Championships team representing his home country of Canada. Roche and Mario at this point are fault-free. We have two clean at this point, Robic and Victor. And fault-free over fence number 8, the Rolex fence, as they head now to fence number 9.
This is where Mario thought the trouble spot lied, coming especially to this triple combination. That's how he approaches it. Here he slows his horse down. Comes in quietly, gives him some leg over the middle. Oxer clears that very well.
For a young horse, he's jumping quite well today and dealing with the crowd and the flags, having no problem at all. He's heading back, and it looks like he'll have no time problems. And it looks like we've got our third clean effort now. Roche and Mario Delorier will join Michael Matz and Harold Chopping at this point as those tied to come back for the time jump off. Yolanda Garcia Saraceda is up next from Madrid, Spain, a 22-year-old rider. She is aboard Sink the Wind. She's one of the amateur riders under the tutelage of Michael Matz.
This has got to be a big step for Yolanda moving up to the Grand Prix here, and she got down that first line well. She looks a little disunited there going around the corner. Probably nerves are playing a factor, but she's regrouping.
And she's jumping fine here through fence number 5 on her way to the double combination, fences 6A and B.
Clear through the combination. Working away at the course nicely.
Oh, and a little bit of a bad ride there, and Yolanda has a refusal for 3 faults.
Looks like she cut that corner a little bit tighter than maybe she wanted, and the horse just didn't get its eye on the jump. I think had she do it again, she probably would take a little more time and get a better approach.
And with the reel there, we make it 7 faults right now. Yolanda Garcia Saraceda on her first Grand Prix start aboard Sink the Wind.
It's important at this point in the course for Yolanda to regroup. She's still got the triple combination left in some very difficult parts. She must get organized and ride positive. There she's over the oxer, coming to the triple.
Again, you couldn't have a better person in your corner than having Michael Matz as your trainer. It's like having Angelo Dundee as your corner man, and Yolanda heads now down to the final line with 7 faults at this point in time. And she finishes up with 7 jumping, 2 3/4 time, 9 3/4 the total. A very respectable finish for Yolanda and Sink the Wind. Dee Dee Alexander, hailing from Unionville, Pennsylvania, aboard Tashiling, a 28-year-old amateur rider. And Tashiling, an American thoroughbred. Dee Dee just back from Cuba, where she was a member of the United States Equestrian Team's bronze medal effort in the Pan American Games.
Dee Dee's had a tremendous year, not only with this horse, Tashiling, but her other mount, Bon Retour, and has won several Grand Prix this year. This is a very spectacular jumper. We can see folding its legs, very good style.
As opposed to the earlier horse we saw with Laura Casati, Glanspunkt, a very heavy German horse, compared with this American thoroughbred.
This horse really has quite a lot of expression in its face. It's a very, very talented jumper, and you can see it doesn't like to touch the as it pins its ears back when it ticks one of them in disapproval.
Where earlier you had to have Jeannie kind of going to the whip a little bit, this one kind of is pulling Dee Dee around the course. Wants to go to the jumps a little bit more.
In this class today, we have a wide variety of breeds, from the German-bred Hanoverians to the thoroughbred to the Irish. We have stallions and mares competing, and it really makes no difference. There's good breeds in every type.
Dee Dee having no problem at all so far with our course through the Metropolitan Contracting combination. She heads home with no faults at this point.
See the horse pulling her a little bit there. She pulls him back a little bit.
We're still looking for the first lady in the jump off, and Dee Dee Alexander with a fault-free performance will become the first female to enter the jump off with 3 men. And so far in our 3 years of competition, a lady has been a winner in each year.
That'll be one to watch for the jump off. That is an extremely fast animal.
More first-round action here in the $25,000 American Cafe Columbia Classic in this National Grand Prix League event. Next up, we have Mark Leone of Franklin Lakes, New Jersey, my co-commentator, aboard a 9-year-old Hanoverian stallion, Crown Royal Ardos. Mark had a chance to head down to the warm-up area and prepare his mount. See how he does after watching our earlier competitors in the first-round competition. And the young stallion jumping quite well with 2 Grand Prix victories in 1990 with brother Peter aboard from Team Leone. Comes now to fence number 5 and heading down to the double combination. With a rail down there, will score 4 faults at this point as they head back now to fence number 6. And a second rail down, making it 8 faults, and Mark Leone aboard Crown Royal Ardos. A good over the Rolex jump. They come back now on the final portion of our course to the triple combination. Again, Mark riding under the sponsorship of Crown Royal. Coming home at this point with 8 faults. And finishing up with 8 faults, Crown Royal Ardos and Mark Leone. Grand Prix show jumping is a very exciting sport, and here at the $25,000 American Cafe Columbia Classic, we also have a very special purpose as we raise money for the Howard Community College Educational Foundation.
Like Aristotle, we believe the fate of our community lies in our ability to educate all who wish to learn. We are the Howard Community College Educational Foundation, and through fundraising efforts like the Columbia Classic Grand Prix, we provide the school endowment, allowing for the construction of everything from state-of-the-art classroom, library, and lab facilities to activities that round out the complete individual. But even more importantly, the money we raise helps provide scholarships so that no one in Howard County will ever miss out on a college education simply because they can't afford one. And when you really look into it, that's pretty important to a community.
If I didn't have financial aid, I wouldn't be going anywhere right now. I find myself that, I've just basically decided that I had to go to college to get a 4-year degree to get anywhere in the world right now.
Howard Community College, from what I know from my past experience with people that have already been here, it's come a long way. The improvements that they're making is great. The teaching is great. And the teachers work with you. So, I'd recommend it to anybody.
British Olympic veteran Tim Grubb of White House, New Jersey, a 37-year-old rider aboard Elon's 2+2, the English Thoroughbred. And we had a chance to talk to Tim earlier today about how he thought the terrain might affect his mount.
Most of our horses are more used to jumping on a more level surface. So your younger horses, when they start to go uphill, they'll feel they have to jump harder to jump the jump. And indeed they do, actually, because perhaps some of the oxes are only 4'9", 5 foot wide, but when you have a little bit of a grade on it, that can make the jump at least 1'6" wider, and your horses get a little surprised by that.
Tim's absolutely right. With the terrain going up and down the hills, the oxers do ride wider up the hill, and this is what he's talking about right here, coming to fence number 2. He had no problem with that one, but it does take a little more effort for the horse to negotiate the spread jumps up the hill, as well as number 4 also, the Liverpool Oxer, which he just knocked down in front there.
4 falls for Tim, and Tim was quite successful earlier this year in the month of September with a second place finish in the $100,000 Hampton Classic Grand Prix event sponsored by Crown Royal.
Now Tim has some strategy to work on now. With only 4 clear rounds, he's going to try to make tighty turns and become what we would call the fastest 4-fault round. Time will decide equality of faults for the final placings in this Grand Prix today. We can see he'll start to trim his turns tighty.
A little bit better payday at store for Elon's 2+2 and Tim, if they can be the fastest 4-faulter with only 4 clear at this point, and he is the final entry in our first round of competition. So we see the seasoned veteran again with a 4th place individual finish in the '84 LA Olympics for the British team. And he's coming home to the Crown Royal fence now. He's clear there. We're working on the fastest 4-fault performance. He'll take home the 6th place honors in our class, just behind the 2.5-fault performance from Laura Casati and Glanspunk. 4 have qualified and earned the right to continue on now to the jump-off. Harold Chopping and Aerobic, Michael Matson Victor, Roche and Mario Delorier, and Didi Alexander and Tashi Ling. It should be a very exciting jump-off coming up next. We have some clean horses and some very quick horses in the jump-off competition.
I think we're going to see a real good jump-off today. We've got 2 experienced horse rider combinations, and we have 2 younger riders in the class. And I think Blair Williams, of course, designer, pegged it just right today. I think the cream really rose today.
HTS presents the Washington International Horse Show, Friday, October 25th, live at 7:30.
Scoring in our jump-off competition, very much the same as in our first-round competition. Again, 4 faults for a knockdown, 3 faults for the first refusal. A second refusal would incur the penalty of 6 faults, and a third refusal would incur the penalty of no score in the jump-off. Should they exceed the time allowed, they will be adding on 1 full time penalty for each second or a fraction of a second over the time allowed.
The jump-off course starts with number 1. The riders will make a left-hand turn over fence number 2. They'll make a right turn back over the Rolex wall, fence number 8. They'll continue to turn right and make a turn over the Coca-Cola Swedish Oxer. Galloping down to what was the triple combination, now is a double combination vertical Oxer. They'll continue to the left down the last line over the Crown Royal Oxer to the American Cafe Jump.
Now from our original field of 31, we brought you highlights in our first round competition. We're down to our 4 riders that are tied for first, and they're coming back now for the timed jump off. Again, the speed is a very important factor, but they also have to be clean. Mark, your thoughts on what it's going to take for our riders in today's class?
Well, the jump off offers many options for the riders. There's a few spots where the riders can make some very tight turns, especially back on fence number 8 today. And also they can use their foot speed. There's several places for the riders to gallop fast, in particular from the double combination fence 10B over to the Crown Royal Oxer. I think that's where the riders are going to have to really open the horses up and let it all hang out.
First back in the jump off is Harold Chopping and Aerobic, our first clean riders in the course. Again, they were the Canadian World Cup champions last year, winning the World Cup Tour, and they make their way. They'll try and set a very fast, clean pace for the 3 remaining riders to catch.
Harold's got a tough task. He goes first out of 4. He must go clear to put the pressure on the other riders. He's got to go fast enough to put the pressure on, but most importantly, he's got to leave the fences. He gets a little tight to number 2, but he gets over it.
And you see they narrowed the Oxer up there. The spread is now much narrower than it was in our first round competition. He makes a hard cut back to the Coca-Cola fence, fence number 9, and on out of the Metropolitan Contracting combination.
Here he takes a long gallop over to the Crown Royal Oxer, letting his horse open up, trying to save valuable seconds.
Well, he's clean so far, and he's heading home aboard Aerobic. Vault-free Harold Chopping sets a blistering pace with Aerobic, a time of 37.849, the time for our riders to catch with a fault-free effort put in by Aerobic and Harold Chopping.
That was a super ride by Harold. Going first, he had a lot of pressure on himself. I think that's going to be a tough time to catch, and the other riders are really going to have to go for it.
Now in our second in the jump off, trying to catch the time of 37.849, held by Aerobic and Harold Chopping. We have Michael Matz aboard Victor. He's number 2 on the all-time win list and the leading money winner in American show jumping history. He had the first fence down there for a score of 4 faults, and he's heading back now to fence number 2.
That was quite unfortunate. Michael looked like he had the horse there right, and he just tipped over the front end there and knocked it down with the front legs. First place is out of reach, but Michael, being the professional rider he is, will try to finish in a fast time, hopefully negotiating the course the rest of the way clear. Here he comes over to the last 2, wanting to bring it home clean.
Working again with just the 4 faults from the first fence in the jump off. Michael Matz finishing up with a time of 38.688 with 4 faults, and right now that goes into second with 2 left to go.
So the time reads on the display clock again, 38.688.
A good performance for that young horse. Here he's coming to the first fence in the jump off. We can see the horse just didn't focus on the top rail there and just really laid into it with its front legs there.
Well, Michael Matz and Victor finish up with 4 faults and a time of 38.688. A Grand Prix winner in July, Mario Delorier and Roche. Again, he's a seasoned veteran, 2 Olympics and numerous World Cup championships. Time he must catch is 37.849.
And Mario doesn't know how to ride for second. He'll be taking a shot out here. Very good to number 2. He already seems to be on the pace. He's cutting back on the Coca-Cola Oxer here, taking a little time here, and then I'll bet he lets the horse run on down to the combination. Setting the horse up a little bit.
Oh, and just with a hind rub takes down the front rail on the Oxer at fence 10B, scoring 4 faults.
That was a late rail, a little unlucky there.
And finishing up with a time of 38.685. And right now that goes into second place, right behind Canadian compatriots Harold Chopping and Aerobic.
So 38.685
Our two Canadian riders at this point are standing first and second, and Dee Dee Alexander will try and make it 4 years in a row that a woman has won the $25,000 American Cafe Columbia Classic. Aboard Tashiling, the time she must catch is 37.849.
This is a fast horse. The Dee Dee will have to just, she's very fast there.
Taking a good
two.
cut right back there to fence number 2.
This animal accelerates instantly. He just has that tremendous foot speed.
Very quick across the jumps, doesn't hang in the air too long.
And she seems to be going well, setting up for the combination here. A lucky rub there. Very good over the oxer.
Well, she's clean coming now down to the final 2 fences. Will a lady be the winner for the 4th year in a row? And the Crown Royal fence comes down, and it looks like she's got the fastest time at 35.644. Easily had the time, but with the 4 faults, will finish up in 2nd place. Dee Dee Alexander and Tashiling.
Here she approaches the Crown Royal jump and just gets a little flat there on the plank there, hitting it with the hind legs. That's the price you pay for going that fast.
The Harold Chopping will be the first male horse and rider combination ever to win our $25,000 American Cafe Columbia Classic. 4 years of competition, and 3 years a lady has come out on top, and Harold takes home the top honors with aerobic, our only clean performance in the jump-off with a time of 37.849. We'll be back with an interview with our winning rider Harold Chopping at a wrap-up of the $25,000 American Cafe Columbia Classic.
The Rolex World of Adventure. The Eagles flight team. Their split-second aerobatics at speeds of 200 miles per hour demand precise timing. For these daring pilots, the timepiece of choice is the Rolex Oyster Perpetual GMT Master II in stainless steel.
And a shot now from the winner's circle of our winning rider aerobic, and Harold Chopping receiving the Columbia Cup and the Metropolitan Leading a Rider Award from J.P. Bolduc, the CEO of W.R. Grace, and Mr. and Mrs. Brian Bistry and Company from Metropolitan Contracting. The second award went to Tashiling and Dee Dee Alexander. Finishing in third was Roche. Mario Delorier was the rider. The fourth award to Victor and Michael Metz. In fifth, Glanspunk and Laura Casati, and the fastest of our 4 falters from the first round, Elon's 2+2, and Tim Grubb will finish up in 6th. And now down to the winner's circle with Mark Leone and Harold Chopping.
Harold, tremendous win for your stallion today. You went first out there. What was going through your mind as you went in, and how'd the horse respond?
What I was trying to do when we have to go first in the jump off is just trying to lay down a track that somebody else is going to have to chase after. I try not to get ahead of myself and do too much, you know, and blow up in the process. What we'd like to do is just lay down something that they have to definitely put in a real ride to catch, and if they catch it, you know, that's show jumping.
You know, it was a difficult course today. There were only 4 cleared. What were your thoughts on the course today, the first round?
I guess the hill in the ring made it a little trickier. The size wasn't overpowering, but some flat cups and the rails were light enough, and it just seemed to get horses in a few specific spots. And you know, that's what happens when you have a one-shot deal in a ring. You know, without any warm-up class, it's a little tough, and you have to figure out the ring just walking it.
Well, it seemed to suit you and your horse. Congratulations again on a tremendous win. We hope to see you here next year.
Thanks, Mark. A very exciting finish to our $25,000 American Cafe Columbia Classic. Our congratulations to Harold Chopping and Aerobic. For Team Crown Royal and Mark Leone, I'm Oliver Kennedy. Thanks for joining us for the Rolex National Grand Prix League Series of Show Jumping.